back.
And we are back. We are the coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting on the Worldwide Coalition Media Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcasting Center at 90 Weybosset Street, here in the city we love, Providence, Rhode Island, the mean streets. Here we are, separated by just a pane of glass from the thriving urban hub that is, as we call it, La Prove. The Naked City, the city of 1,000 stories. This weekend, of course, if you're a libertarian like I am, you are celebrating the National Governors Association annual conference just a few mere blocks away. A level of statism that continues to try to infect this studio. But we, having what I call a Libertarian Fabulous night, will continue to beat it away. CoalitionRadio.us, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the Mighty Mighty Twitter at Coalition_Radio. Of course, you can always watch this program live at GoLocalProv.com. And please follow our new apolitical, anti-crony capitalist, anti-corporatism, anti-Pawtucket Red Sox Stadium subsidies Twitter at Pawtucket is Home, and the website, fightthestadium.com. So in continuing with our theme tonight of being Libertarian Fabulous, I have someone who has risen in the last few years to the height, I'll call it the firmament of the libertarian movement in this state through a combination of raw talent, I'll say it, balls, and a libertarian philosophy that is both pure at heart and effective in nature. Of course, I'm talking about Larry Sharpe. Larry came within a moment of being the Libertarian Vice Presidential candidate nominee. And by the way, this is my opinion, not the opinion of station management, but it should have happened.
I agree.
Larry's birthday was this week, and a birthday present that he actually gave to the voters of New York State made a major announcement. Larry is going to be running for the governorship of the great state of New York as a libertarian, and began his candidacy in earnest this week. So in keeping with our recent history of bringing prominent national libertarians who are running for prominent national offices on the coalition, I introduce you for the first time on our show, and a recent keynote speaker at the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island's annual convention, Larry Sharpe. Larry, welcome to the coalition.
Thanks for having me. I'm just happy that you beat the Boston Red Sox. That's all I care about.
Yeah, we're not supposed to tell people that I'm a Yankees fan on this performance, and that's what motivates me to continue to fight against Larry Lucchino and his band of robbers extraordinaire.
Well, I am a Yankee fan myself, New Yorker, so yeah, all good. Keep doing that.
All right. Distant cousin, left-hander, Baseball Hall of Fame, until some kid named Mariano Rivera took it, actually held the record for consecutive scoreless postseason innings in Major League Baseball. Ford,
Buddy Ford. There we go.
There you go. So Larry, again, first of all, congratulations on the announcement. I have a feeling you're going to take a principled libertarian message right to the throat of an out-of-control New York State government. What was the motivation? And give us a little bit about your personal background and your personal story.
Well, a lot of people know my story. I'm happy to give you a little bit of it. I am a poor kid from the Bronx who decided that I wanted to make myself better. It took me many years to make that happen, through a lot of failures, a lot of falling down, a lot of getting back up. And during that time, I realized that the system wasn't there to help me. The system was there to put me down. The system was there to imprison my brothers and sisters. The system was there to waste our time and look over here, look over there, while they don't actually help anybody. So yeah, Cato, you said the great state of New York. New York is a great state. It's the Empire State. The problem is Cato has said that we are 50th, the bottom, when it comes to freedom. So we beat California and Illinois. See that? Take that.
number one with a bullet.
Absolutely, the least free state. So with that in mind, someone's got to do something about it. And I really believe that if we can make something happen in New York, we can make something happen anywhere. It's the right place, the right time, take advantage of what happened last year, to take that momentum that we got and to build it, and to show the nation that this wasn't a blip, this was the start of a wave. And we have to make sure that that tidal wave comes through, starting on the East Coast and going to the West Coast.
Absolutely. Now, I had the opportunity, I worked in New York City for a number of years in Midtown. I was a resident of Connecticut, did the commute, did the Metro North thing. Here's the irony. On one hand, New Yorkers have the reputation, well earned, of being some of the toughest, most individualistic SOBs around. New Yorkers are famous for being in your face, confrontational, and usually on the winning end of just about any battle. New York, to me, is the center of America. Sorry, folks. I love New York City. My kiddo goes to, or just graduated from college there. In there a lot. Got a lot of family there. And yes, you can pick a New Yorker usually right out of a crowd. How is it that New York State became so statist, so beaten down, such a center of cronyism? What happened to the New York that you and I love?
There's a real issue here that people should understand. New York is not really America, meaning it's not like America. It's very different. It's very unique in many ways. First of all, the largest city in the country, right? There's 8.5 million New Yorkers. There are more people in New York City than there are in most states, right? So we're huge. But not just that. About 1/3 of New Yorkers, give or take, aren't even born in the country. Not in the country. And about 1/3 of those remaining aren't even born in the city. So most of New Yorkers are not from New York City. Most residents aren't there. Not just that, we have millions, up to 4 million people who come in and out of the city every day on that wave. Like you said, people from New Jersey, from Connecticut, from upstate, from Long Island, they come in to work. The reason why New York City explodes so much is that's where all the opportunity is. The opportunity is in New York City, and people rush to get it. That's why they spend an hour or 2 hours commuting every day one way just to get there, to get those dollars, to get that experience, to have that hope of becoming something great and amazing. But there's an issue with that. Because there are so many people, we literally live on top of each other. And that's not an exaggeration or hyperbole.
No,
that is true. And when it comes, I'll give you a good example. UPS truck drivers. Now, an entire route for a UPS truck driver is often a few floors in a building.
Right.
Let me say it again. The entire route for a UPS truck driver is several floors in one building.
Right.
That's how much we live on top of each other. So we really do. When you have that kind of people living on top of each other, but on top of that, you have so many different cultures living together. And most of us in New York, most of us don't live together. We live in our own enclaves, but we work and commute together.
Right.
Add on to that many of the people who are there don't have roots in New York. Their family is someplace else. They weren't born and raised in New York. They were born in some other country or some other state. So they have no roots in New York. So there's no roots. Everyone's different. We live on top of each other. That really does change the dynamic compared to the rest of the country. Mm-hmm. And it gets people to want to have safety and security because they're afraid of their neighbor, they don't know. While New Yorkers live so close together and there's so many people, a lot of us are very lonely. It's actually a very lonely city in many ways. Right. So New York City is a very special city. And I'm not just saying it because it's my city. I mean, it is my city, it is special. I'm just saying it's a special city. So the problem that we have in New York State is New York City is not New York State.
True.
They're very different.
Mm-hmm.
You find people in New York City and then go up to Albany, go up to Rochester, go up to Buffalo, go up to Cicero, go up to Troy. They're different. It's not the same. And New York struggles, just like many states do, right? The mm-hmm. cities are not the same as the suburbs or the rural areas. And we struggle because of that dichotomy. And I think if you can repair some of that in New York State, you can learn how to repair that throughout the nation. And that's one of the things that I want to do in New York State. I want to connect the top and the bottom, the north and the south, the rural and the urban, the city and upstate and downstate. Connect them better. We have not done a good job of that in the past, and we have to make it better.
So there's really, your campaign is two-pronged. Number one, you've got your philosophy as a libertarian that you're going to mm-hmm. use as an underlying principles to how you perform as a governor. Yet at the same time, you've got this astonishing bureaucracy that you've got to somehow tame, that you can't just shut down overnight, that you've got to find a way simply to make better.
That's correct, yes. And look, I've never, in all my training and coaching my professional life, all my consulting my professional life, I never promise any client perfection, because I can't deliver that. Mm-hmm. But I do promise them better. 100%, I promise better, and I guarantee better. And I will guarantee a better New York. It won't be perfect. Look, the issue is, this is human nature, right? When you have a bunch of people in a city, 8 million, who don't share a culture, who don't share a background, who often don't share religion, who often don't share ethnic origin of country, who don't share these things, you have to have something that they see as neutral, or something that they see as fair, or something that you see as just an overarching thing. And the problem is, we've made that government. We've made that government. And that's why New York has that almost communist format, because people want to have something that we can all agree upon. And it often winds up being government. And of course, government then grows, and now every time we have a problem, it's government. Everything's government, everything's government. And that's a problem. And it really starts heavily in New York City, and then it bleeds to New York State.
Right. Now, let's explain to folks your principles as a libertarian, because the libertarians who are listening right now, or who will see this broadcast at some point in the future, can barely agree sometimes on their underlying principles. There are so many different flavors of libertarian. Give folks a snapshot into your belief system and how it's evolved.
The issue here is that I don't care necessarily about, do I have to push a libertarian agenda? Mm-hmm. I do, but it's not based upon a libertarian agenda. What it really is I want to make people's lives better. Now, if I talk about how to make people's lives better, what really happens is government has to step out of the way.
Right.
Because government is force by default, mm-hmm. right? That's what government is. I'm not sure, but when has force made your life better? As a general rule, it doesn't, right? What people want is their own freedom. Gandhi said this, and he was right. I know libertarians get mad when I bring up Gandhi. Oh, he's a statist, whatever. But Gandhi said something very smart. He said to the British, he said, people would always prefer their own bad government to the government of an alien power. And he meant that as the British imposing their will upon the Indians. Mm-hmm. I would just go one step further. I'm my own government. I will always prefer my own will over someone else imposing it upon me, right. Even if my will is wrong, even if my will is bad, even if my will is uneducated or silly, it's still mine. If I want my life to be better, I have to be freer. But not just that. In today's world, what we need is change. What we need is innovation. We need to move quickly. When, in history, has centralization ever helped innovation? I'm going to list them all right now. Done. Never happens, ever. Right. It never works that way. In business, when it's, and look, I'm a business guy, so what I do, I train people in business, right? If I'm going to train someone in business to become more innovative, the last thing I do is say, have all the answers. The last thing I do is say, be more of a dictator. What I say is, stop pushing stuff down to your juniors. Start asking them what they think. Start giving them freedom to come up with answers and ideas, and allow them to fail on their own. And you will, by default, create innovation. That's how it works in any organization. That's how it works in life. We have to get away from the idea that if I want things to be better, I have to have the right answer. No, if I want things to be better, I have to allow others to give me the right answer, or more importantly, help them, facilitate them to create their own right answers. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to work with.
Because the singular failure of government is to continually, through the lack of any risk or reward scenario for its, shall we say, its members, the singular failure is to encourage or create an environment where innovation is rewarded simply for the sake of innovation, understanding that there will be a culture of success and there will be occasionally a culture of failure.
In fact, there usually will be more failures.
Right.
But the successes will be amazing. And right. That's what I want. Look, if I take away someone's ability to fail, I've taken away their ability to grow. And what we have right now throughout New York State, throughout the country, but heavily New York State, is we don't have a culture of justice. We don't have a culture of growth. We have a culture of punishment. We have a culture of, if you do something wrong, I don't want you to make it right. I just want to punish you, right? So now here I'm in New York, right? And in this case, you come to New York, you live in New York, and I decide for whatever reason, whether it's drugs, I'm a bad guy, I need money, I lost my job, whatever reason, I decide to rob someone's house. I rob someone's house, I take $3,000 worth of it. In fact, it's you, right? I rob you, $3,000, I take that amount of money from you. Great. What does a New York see as justice? They see me going to jail as justice. But wait a minute, did you get your stuff back? You didn't. So how's that justice? Well, I'll go further. Who pays for me in jail? You do. You pay taxes to keep me in jail. You got robbed twice. Good for you. Not just that, your insurance rates went up. You got robbed 3 times. Isn't that amazing?
Right.
I spent 5 years in jail, 3 years in jail, whatever I spent in jail. Now, I wasn't a violent criminal at all. What actually happened was I made a bad decision or mistake, whatever, how we look at it, and I should pay for that mistake. Absolutely. So once I go to jail, now I wasn't violent, I just made an error, or I was a drug addict, whatever. Now I'm in jail. I spend the next 5 years in jail with the most violent people in a terrible environment where about 20% of the population is sociopathic. What did I just learn from my environment? I learned how to be a violent criminal. So now I come out, the state has made me a violent criminal, and they've literally made me that through my environment. I come out now, the state, I can't get a job because the state now says I'm a felon. I can't get a job. So I can't get a job, I'm a violent person. What am I gonna do? My life is actually over, in reality.
Right.
I am now a burden on society for the rest of my life. I am in some way, shape, or form now going to leech off of people in some way, either through violence, through robbery, through black market, or in prison. Mm-hmm. That's for the rest of my life. And New York State has made that to be the norm, and okay, because we see that as justice. And it's not justice, it's punishment. We've confused those 2 words. They're not the same.
And that really spans across just about every government activity, not just
Yes,
the criminal justice system. And accordingly, then we also insulate people from failure by an artificial construct, a social covenant that I call exists that somehow continues to perpetuate the myth that government involvement in any sort of activity will promote fairness, justice, and a successful outcome for everyone. Yet you know intimately that's not really how it works, is it?
Not at all. Look, it is. Could there be a place for government to right a wrong? Sure, that could exist. That's not impossible to understand. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for a government to fix an injustice, right? Repair an injustice. There's a difference between repairing an injustice versus enforcing justice. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 separate issues, and we've missed the ball here. If you're telling me, should there be an entity that makes me pay you back that $3,000 I stole from you? Okay, I could buy that. The government is repairing an injustice. But should the government decide that it's going to stop me before, make everybody equal, make sure no one has anything so there's nothing valuable to steal, this way no one steals, that's what winds up happening. We've confused again the idea of enforcing justice with righting a wrong. They're 2 separate issues.
Larry, you've spent a professional career involved in coaching and involved in business management consulting. What motivates people? And it's a broad question, but in your mind, if you could boil it all down, what motivates the individual?
Absolutely. People are motivated by 3 things. They're motivated by the promise of gain, which is if I do something, I get something. That can be emotional or that can be physical, depending upon the individual. They're also motivated by a fear of loss. If I don't do something, I will lose something. And again, that can be emotional or that can be physical, either one. And last, by honor. They believe it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Now, the easiest one to use is always promise of gain. Do it and I'll give you something. The bribe, right? Do that. The problem is that is the weakest of all motivators. The next one after that is fear of loss. That's also a weak one too, compared to honor, but it's stronger than promise of gain. That's what government works on. Do it or you lose your freedom. Do it or you lose your money. Do it, I'll take away something, right? Mm-hmm. And that also works. But the last one is the idea that people will always do. They will sacrifice anything if they believe it's the right thing to do. People go to jail because it's the right thing to do. People die because it's the right thing to do. The people right now who are fighting in the Middle East, the Marines who are fighting in Syria and Afghanistan, they're not dying for country. They're not dying because they think they'll make money. They're not dying because they're afraid. They're dying because they want to support their brother or sister next to them. They're dying for their unit. They're dying because they think it's the right thing to do. That's why suicide bombers blow themselves up. They believe it's the right thing to do. The brain doesn't want to do 2 things. It doesn't want to be embarrassed, and it doesn't want to die, and not always in that order. So that's what we have to worry about. If you want to know what moves people, that is what moves people.
So then, in a state like New York, and once you get out of some select areas in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and a little bit of Queens. You've got vast areas in New York which have just been economically decimated in the last generation. And this despite having federal officials who were very prominent in national politics, despite having an international reputation. If you go across upstate New York, from Plattsburgh to Buffalo, the manufacturing's been decimated. Yep. You don't see the boon of financial services in a place like Rochester take hold that you'll see in a place obviously like Manhattan. How do you then, and this is almost a spiritual calling, and as a leader, possibly one of the most important things you'll do, how do you install that sense of, whether it be entrepreneurship, innovation, aggression, how do you rebirth an entire region? Because that's really what needs to take place, isn't it?
It's not easy, and not just that. As governor, I'm going to have to deal with a Congress that's not going to be libertarian. Right? My state house is not going to be libertarian. So not only am I going to have trouble, getting anything done, I'm going to have people who are actively trying to stop me. Right. So there's no question it'll be difficult. So there's something I have people do, and that is communicate. Any good leader who's made any good change, you read any book on any successful leader, they will always say the same thing. Once you have the right idea, once you have the right concept, communicate, 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 communicate. Over communicate. Over communicate. I have to be the one who takes this office and is the bully pulpit, the one who makes the right examples. For example, we have amazing colleges in New York, and they are all run by one specific office that decides they have to run all their curriculum by one specific office to decide what kind of degree they will have. Why in the world do that? I would ban that office immediately, destroy it, get rid of that office right away. I'll use the crazy word abolish. I would abolish that actual office right away. I would give the actual colleges their ability to do what they want to do. Now people say, wait a minute, Larry, you have crappy colleges. You mean like Trump University that already existed? This stuff still happens. It doesn't all of a sudden stop because government decides to step in. You're still going to have charlatans. That's going to happen. But not only will I have charlatans, this is the idea of failure, but I'm also going to allow Rochester and Syracuse University, which is an amazing university, RTI, to actually innovate on their own and to provide exactly what the local communities need, not what some state official believes they should have. Right. But not just that. I'm also going to create an office of the pardoner, which is a place where I will not do what all governors do, which is wait till the last week of their campaign, or the last week of their in office, and pardon people. I will pardon people monthly. I will go through and find the injustice that exists in my state, and I will pardon. And yes, people will make mistakes, and I'll make a mistake. I'll let people know up front, and I'll accept the consequences of my actions, because I want the state to know that this is a state of second chances. This is not a one strike and you're out anymore. Those days are done. Not just that, there are consequences for judges, there are consequences for prosecutors, they are officers of the state. There are consequences for them when they act immorally, when they act unethically. Right now there are none, but I will show them that there are. I will pardon those that need to be pardoned, I will scold those who have been unethical, those who be immoral, and I will show them that that no longer is the case. I want people to know that this country was built on the idea that one person may get away, go free. It's okay as long as innocent people are not in prison. Liberty was more important than righteousness. Those days are gone. Mm-hmm. I will bring them back to New York. Liberty is more important. Liberty does matter. And I don't want free people going to jail, because when that happens, it is always an actual attack on the poor. Mm-hmm. Because the poor can't afford bail, so they stay in jail. The poor can't get jobs, so they stay in jail. When the poor are in jail, they lose their jobs. So it's always an attack on the poor. Those days go away.
I mean, stop and frisk was largely directed at areas of the Bronx, Brooklyn, poor areas of Queens, where you had a disproportionately high police presence interfering in the daily lives of a lot of very honest citizens. The notion that can happen without the social fabric being ripped apart is incredibly naive. When you have a president who talked about the constitutional failure of stop and frisk being attributed to a, what did he call it, a very bad, not good judge, who didn't understand, when you have a president who's unaware of the consequences and the importance of the Fourth Amendment and a legal system that backstops that failure, you've got a recipe for chaos. And unfortunately, a society that cannot act within itself at some level of justice cannot perform other functions.
Well, there's an issue here that I think a lot of people, I hope, see. There's a concept in psychology called learned helplessness. Mm-hmm. And what that means is people eventually realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do, so why bother? It doesn't matter what I do, so why bother? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of people in this country, particularly in New York, who don't think it matters. It's why some people don't vote. It's why they don't stand up. It's why they don't protest. It's why they just surrender. It's learned helplessness. But once they see someone at the top saying, no, what you say does matter. I hear you. Yes, you as an individual have value. It isn't about the government, right? Most people have confused law or legal with righteous or ethical. Mm-hmm. They're not the same either. But he broke the law. The law is written by a corporate lobbyist. How is that somehow ethical or magical or powerful? It's corporate culture. You know, where you broke corporate policy and all of a sudden that's a bad thing? It's written by a lobbyist, right? It's not what it is. We already have a whole bunch of laws. We've had them for hundreds of years on don't do things like rob or steal or cheat. Those are the laws we need. The laws on the hamburger should be 40 degrees whenever it's out of the refrigerator is a useless, worthless law. Mm-hmm. If the hamburger hurts someone, we already have a law for that. If the hamburger doesn't, why do we care?
Right. Well, again, the notion that exists that government's interjection in your daily life will promote fairness and equality and a level of equanimity is a fraud and has never been.
Yes, but it's based upon fear. Mm-hmm. It's based upon the idea that I'm afraid, therefore someone must save me. And government has stepped in very often as the savior. And look, what government does a few things well. First thing what government does is it kills people very well. When it comes to mass killing, very good government. #1 champion of the world, going to beat everybody at that. Don't even try to be a mass murderer if you're not government. You're not going to even come close. 2, when it comes to checking a box for no reason. Unnecessary bureaucracy, no organization like government can do that better. They can't. You can try as a small business, you'll never make it as good as government. But the last thing is, taking credit for stuff that had nothing to do with it. Boy, is government good at that too. Every single thing that's good, government will jump right on board and say, see, we did that, it's me, I did it. So when you combine those 3 things, it's difficult for the average person, specifically today, in an environment where there's so much information coming at you, there's so much media, so many things to look at, to do, and entertainment, and information, to actually be a critical thinker when it comes to government. That's a tough thing to do. And that's why communicating clearly is so important. You have to break through the clutter and get them to understand what is real and what's not real. Because that fraud you mentioned, most people just don't get it. You know, most people in America still believe that the Fed is a government organization that helps the economy. Yeah. And I'm not making it up. You know that's true. Right. Most Americans believe that to be true. And all they have to do is Google it to find out that it's not. How do I know that? I've told people this. They thought I was crazy. Not just that, I believed it too, till someone told me. And when someone told me, I thought they were lying. I Googled it and I thought, wow, I've been fooled for 30 some odd years of my life. I thought that was the case. So it's hard. What you're saying is correct. And what I'm saying is we have a lot of work to do. The country is simply not where it needs to be to make that emotional change. They're just not there. We have a lot of work to do.
And when we continue to foster and grow an educational system that purposely works to prevent the growth of critical thinking skills, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
It's the single biggest failure of our school systems is its inability to foster an environment where people are encouraged to think independently.
You gotta remember something here, though. That was a very valuable thing for society at one point, right?
Right.
When we were a manufacturing society, and all I wanted to do was kind of, pull a lever and make a widget, and just keep doing that for 10 hours a day, and that's all I cared about. For society, that was the right answer, right? Now, that's not even close to what society is anymore. As you said, manufacturing is gone. We need innovation. We need brain power. We need people thinking.
Right.
Arms and legs, I can hire that someplace overseas. But when I need brains, our school system is not doing it. Now, look, I don't want to insult people who went to public school. I did too. I get it, right? But I want to think of it a different way. I want to think of it in a way of not saying public school is a bad idea, why is government in school? That turns a lot of people off.
Right.
Instead, say something like this. Government school did its job back in the day. Great. No more. Things have changed. It's no longer valid. Mm-hmm. It's no longer working. And that's a message Americans tend to hear because they know that's true. But if you say government schools have always been bad, you're insulting a lot of people who don't want to hear it. If you simply say, without lying, this is true, what I'm saying is true, which is it no longer works, it doesn't do anything for the country anymore. It's not who we are anymore. That's an accurate statement, and people at least hear that. They agree with it. They can go, you know what, you're right. There's got to be a better way.
Why are folks so, and I'll use a New York example here, why are so folks tolerant of the day-to-day failures of government to a level that they would never accept from, say, the New York Knicks? How is
Yes.
that? How is it that on WFAN 660 you can get crucified for a bad trade or a bad draft choice, yet we are so tolerant of an abysmal failure of government?
Yeah, there's two things. The first one is what I mentioned. It's learned helplessness,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's learned helplessness. We don't, no matter what we do, it doesn't work. So who cares? Why bother? It doesn't matter. The second piece, what government's done very well with the two-party system is create tribalism. When it's tribalism, now it's us against them. And that means if I don't support us, I'm a traitor. If I don't support us, I support them.
Right.
And that's that honor issue. And honor is stronger than promise of gain or fear of loss. That's the reason why my tribe is the right tribe. Look at the parties now. The reason why libertarians fight, I brought this up before, the reason libertarians fight is Libertarian Party is the only party right now that actually has an ideology. Mm-hmm. If you have an ideology, you fight over the righteousness of your ideology, over the left and the right of it, of the top and the bottom of it. You fight around that ideology because you actually have one. The left and the right don't have an ideology. They have two tribes, right? The
Right.
Republicans don't actually do what they say. The Democrats don't do what they say. They're just two tribes that fight each other. That's all they are. So if I'm part of that tribe, I can't in any way, shape, or form say something bad about my tribe because that makes you a traitor. And that's dishonorable. And I will take fear of loss, pain. I will lose the promise of gain. I'll lose my own money, everything. I will lose that, but I'll be loyal to my tribe.
Right.
So you find people who are tribal or who've just given up, don't care, learned helplessness. I hope I answered your question.
Because both national parties have created an environment where it's far more politically expedient to do some type of moral equivalence between their behavior of their guy as opposed to the other party's gal. And what's astonishing to me, we went from a candidate who became president who initially pledged to be better to us not only listening to him perpetrate the hoax and us accepting the hoax, that simply being just as bad was good enough.
Yes, remember something. In the current environment, the two-party system. Look, even if you don't like libertarianism, you don't agree with it doesn't really matter. Even if you don't, the two-party system has to be broken.
Right.
Because with the two-party system, the current way of advertising, of talking is simply within that guy. That's my entire piece. All I have to do is protect you from the other guy, and I win. I don't have to make you freer. I don't have to make you happier. I don't have to make you safer. I don't do anything except protect you from that guy, the other. If I protect you from him or her, I've done my job. And what's my campaigning? My campaign is, look how evil he is. Look how evil she is. That's the campaign. Look how evil she is. That's it. Now, if that's my campaign, and I've been telling you this, can you imagine, Pat, if I was telling you that this party is evil, and I've been telling you this for 30 years, and you've been believing it and talking about it for 30 years, how in the world can you ever vote for the person? They're basically Satan incarnate.
Right.
So whatever they do, it doesn't matter, right? You just say, well, at least he's not Satan. But he raped 7 people. But he's not Satan. I'll vote for him. She was terribly crooked. She murdered 5 people. Yeah, but she's not Satan, so I'll vote for her. That's how it works. It gets to that point. They're not that bad. I will vote for them. And that's a big problem. However, imagine if you all of a sudden add a third party. I think our party, clearly. But in theory, any party. If you add another party, the Libertarian Party is involved now. So now, it's person A, person B, and me. When person A says person B is evil, they're terrible, does it guarantee them the vote now? With the two-party system, it does. Without a two-party system, the vote might go to me, which means negative campaigning will be less effective because the vote doesn't all of a sudden go to you because you made the other guy evil. Someone else might get your vote. When that begins to happen, by default, negative campaigning will be reduced. Not because people care about it, it'll be less effective. It won't make as much monetary sense. There will be less negative campaigning. Because what are you going to say? Everybody's evil but me? Some people will try that. And in some races that will work. But in many it won't. So there will be less negative campaigning by default, which means I have to have an actual answer. I have to actually do something. I have to make your life better in some way, shape, or form. And I think the only way I can do that is by making you freer. By giving you more choice, more opportunity, facilitating growth. If I can do that, I can show you some value. Not just protect you from the bad guy, but also show you value. If I can do that, we can keep winning.
Right. We effectively need to introduce free market economics into the political system. We need we need the same kind of choices that you get at a grocery store that you can get at the ballot box.
That's correct.
And if we went to the grocery and all we could choose was Oreos and Chips Ahoy, and we couldn't get any one other flavor of cookie, we'd be pretty upset. And interestingly enough, other choices would soon appear, other alternatives would soon appear. Why we accept this notion that there can only be two choices for our selection as something as important as, in this case, the governorship of the great state of New York is astonishing. And that's the paradigm that has to shift.
Well, the funny thing that people don't realize about New York in this case is there really are only two choices. And the choice is Cuomo or me. Now, why do I say that? And I don't mean this with hubris. I don't mean this with hyperbole. I mean this in reality. Ask Dorito if he runs or if anyone else runs, Brad's run last time. He's a martyr. They're going to send him up to pretend like the Republicans are fighting. They're not. He's not going to win. The Republicans aren't going to show up for him. That's a fact. The Green Party person is not going to win because if he's left enough, the Greens wouldn't even run anybody. Right now, they don't even have anybody to run.
Right.
So what does that mean? The only person who can actually win is Cuomo or me. Because if people get mad at they won't show up for Astorino because he's one of them, those Republicans might show up for me because they'll see that I actually will implement tax reform, the things they want me to implement. Not just that. If the Democrats are angry at Cuomo because he's a bad governor, and he is a bad governor, they won't vote for Republican because of tribalism. They can't do it because of the emotion.
Right.
But can they vote for me? Yes, they can. They can vote for the third party. So libertarians actually have a chance of victory. If the Republicans put up another martyr, if Cuomo falls down, those votes will either stay home or come to me. If I can get them to come to me, I can win.
Right. Let's talk economics for a few minutes here. A philosophical question, if you will. Can government create jobs?
This is a great question. The answer, sadly, is yes, of course. And people always say no, but it's true. And here's why. If I'm a government employee, that paycheck that I get, that's a job.
Right.
I'm paying my bills from the government. That's a job. You can tell me all day, government has great jobs. I pay my mortgage with a check that says U.S. Treasury on it. No, that's a job. Here's the problem, though. It's not real value in the market, and that's the kicker. It's not, because we actually pulled value from the market. Someone who should have been doing a job that creates value in the private sector is now doing a non-value job in the government. So it does not create value in the market, but it does create a job. In fact, 1/7 of all jobs in the United States are government jobs. The government is the #1 employer in the United States. Now, here's the problem. How long can it last? As long as we go into debt. If we just keep cranking money out every day and the quantitative easing every quarter and keep just making money magically, that can go on for a long time. Will eventually we have to pay for that? Yes, we will. Odds are my grandkids are going to pay dearly for that. But no, can we right now keep just making jobs out of thin air? Yes, it's happening. Can people pay their bills and keep a livelihood from a job from the government? Yes, it's happening. If government creates a law, it creates a job. Because once it creates a law, someone's got to enforce them. So what happens? People come in uniform. But uniforms are what help government. When governments are in trouble, what do? They put more people in uniform. That's all they do. And it's smart, because if my paycheck comes from a government, what are the odds I'm going to revolt? Pretty slim.
Right.
My livelihood is coming from a government check. The odds of me revolting, pretty slim. And if I do revolt, boy, is it bloody. Because what have you pushed me to? What have you pushed me to where I will take my livelihood and throw it away to fight a revolution?
Right.
Boy, is that going to be bad. So, yes, government absolutely creates. I know that makes libertarians angry when I say it, but sadly, it is true. Government does not create value, but it does create jobs, absolutely.
Which leads to the next question. One of the great challenges we've had here in Rhode Island over the last couple of years as we fought corporate cronyism is folks getting an understanding of not how economics are purported to work, but how fundamental economics and markets really do. And I'll use an example. Of course, what we obsess with here at the Coalition is this ongoing effort to fight corporate subsidies for a baseball stadium.
Yep.
Now, folks allege, well-informed folks, very intelligent folks, allege that we've got, in this case, one of them in the media has called it a baseball economy. And then we point out, well, no, really, you don't. You have an entertainment economy where, for example, if baseball ceases to exist in its current form, that money will then be spent elsewhere. And not only will it be spent elsewhere, it will probably be spent more locally. And using something, and this is where it gets complicated, the multiplier effect, that money will actually be spent locally and many more times in our local economy. Now, understanding that is a key element of understanding why, on a practical level, not a moral or philosophical level, but on a practical level, why cronyism is an economic failure and simply does not work at any level. But the challenge is with an electorate that is either bored, undereducated, is that in the absence of any real underpinning of civics or economics, it's simply easier to say, well, the government's going to create jobs and development, and yeah, we're going to spend this money, and you know, there'll be, and the key word in Rhode Island, I don't know, you know, every word, every culture, every state, every political culture has got its own overused word. Transparent, of course, was the word of the year last year. Here in Rhode Island, ancillary development is the word being preached.
Sounds amazing.
It sounds fabulous. So how do you, because a key element in your success as a governor is going to be, as you said, communicating with the people, but how do you bring those concepts home so that folks understand how fundamentally flawed most of the underpinnings of what we see as modern government is in America?
Yeah, it's going to sound crazy, but it really is about asking simple questions. It really is. And having people watch and think and get it on their own, and having people begin to understand. And the simple question is this: if we are a baseball economy, and if this is so valuable, why don't they just come themselves and build a stadium?
Yeah.
It's a simple question, right?
Right.
I just ask it. Simple question. Well, they need help. I got it. You told me they need help. I hear you. But you also just told me this is a baseball economy, and they're going to create all these jobs. They're going to make lots of money. Well, yeah, they're going to make money. So why not just build the stadium themselves? And there's no answer. That's my point. I don't have to hammer them home. I don't have to fight. I just ask that question. It's that simple. You know, one of the things you deal with when people talk about criminals being in jail, the same concept. They say, well, these guys got to be locked up. Great, they're going to be locked up. But you know they're coming out, right? Yeah, they're going to come out. Where do you think they're going to go? Yeah, back into our neighborhoods. Why would I want to turn someone who wasn't violent into a violent criminal and put them back into our neighborhoods again? Yes. Why would I want to give a company, if you're telling me they're going to make a lot of money, why would we give a company X $100 million to build a stadium to make jobs? If they need $100 million, are they going to be that profitable? If they are going to be so profitable, and it's going to help us so much, why don't I just take that $100 million, divvy it up amongst all my people, and give it to them as a rebate? Let them spend it, and we still put that money into the economy. Again, simple questions. Ask the question. I don't want to go into long diatribes about how smart I am. I don't care how smart I am. No one cares how smart I am. What I want them to do is them to get it. I want the individual to think. Because if they get it at their gut level, they will tell others. Because while someone may not believe that I know everything or I know it, they'll believe someone else. And if 2 or 3 people tell them, you know what? If they really care about the stadium, why don't they build it themselves? 2, 3, 4, 5 people tell them, they believe it.
We've only got a few minutes left, and Larry, as always, has been fabulous. And Libertarian Fabulous, as the theme is this week.
Even better.
When you spoke to us in Bristol just a month or two ago, one of the questions, it was a great question from the crowd, if you will. They asked about the argument factor, if you will, that's so ongoing in American policy today. And you talked about, you created a wonderful picture of explaining to people how important it is not to win arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's at the core of the logjam, of the miasma, whatever you want to call it, the core of the meltdown that's occurring right now. So can you get into that in the last few minutes? And I also want to give a chance for you, of course, to engage in shameless plugs for the campaign where people can contribute and all that. But give us a couple of minutes of why it's important not to necessarily win the argument.
If I win an argument, as a general rule, I've made an enemy. If I win an argument, now someone feels bad, I made someone feel dumb or stupid. I don't want someone to feel dumb or stupid because they'll be mad at me because I made them feel dumb or stupid. I would rather have a conversation. I'd rather ask them questions. If someone says something like, we got to fight the terrorists over there so they won't fight us over here or something like that. And I might say, great, I love that. Do you think we can kill all the terrorists over there? Should we kill everybody? That conversation, regardless of their answer, makes them think. They may, just to get me back, go, of course we can. Kill them all. Kill all of them. They might do that. And I go, okay, so you think it's okay to just kill them all? And they might go, yeah, I do. Now, if that person actually believes that it's okay for mass murder and genocide, why am I talking to them anyway?
Right.
But assuming that person doesn't actually believe that, as they walk away, they'll start thinking, yeah, I didn't really mean to say that. That's not what I meant. And they'll come back to me later, and that's okay. And say, Larry, I didn't mean kill all of them. What I meant was security. Oh, okay, so you're talking about security. Let's talk about that. Can we have enough security? Is that how it works? Are we bombing people? And we can start having a conversation. The best leaders, and I teach this in my leadership courses in business, and I also teach individuals. The best leaders are okay not being right now. They're okay being right later. I'm okay being right later. I don't have to convince anybody today. You'll come back, you'll have a conversation, we'll talk 2 or 3 times. Eventually, I hope you'll get it. If I can't do that, then I'm a bad communicator. My job is to use example and communication and my freedom of choice, my freedom of association, my freedom of speech to get you to believe that I'm right. And if that takes 1 time or 20 times, I'm okay with that. I'll take my time. You see the videos I put out? You see all the media I do? I want people to hear this 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 times before they go, you know what? That guy's right. And I want people to hear me talk and copy me to the best of their ability. Use their own personality with their own words, but follow this idea of asking questions, being okay with it being a second or third conversation. Because here's what you want to realize. People tell me this all the time. Some people you just can't turn. They hate us. The most zealous are the converted. If you can get someone to be a convert who thought sadism was the answer and that's everything and it's all about government, and all of a sudden you get them to understand that it's not, that person's your next state chair. That person's your next county chair. That person's running for office. They are zealots. How do I know that? That was me. That's how I know that. The same thing. I talk to people and I learned. That's how I know that. Now, for me to be that zealot, I'm running for governor. I need 3 things from people right now who are hearing this. The first thing is, as always, donations, pledges, of course. Larry Sharpe with an E, LarrySharpe.com. Go there, click on the donate button, pledge whatever you can pledge. Whatever that is, go ahead. I love it. Great. If you can swing a monthly donation, please make it monthly. It's easy for you, easy for me. Life is good. I'm building my team out. I'm going to Freedom Fest. I'm speaking, I'm teaching, and we're getting across the country. But if you don't want to do that, okay, no worry. I need 2 more things. I need you to volunteer. I need your time. I need your energy. I need you to create stuff for me. I need you to phone me. I need you to give me time if you can't give me money. The more time you give me, the better. But the last thing I need you to do, share, share, share. Every single thing you see, this video, this show, everything I do, website, anyone who's talking about me, share. Don't just share online. I want you to share online, but also share personally. Tell people in your churches, in your civic groups, at your daycare, at your job. Talk to people when you're out in the bar, hanging with your friends. Talk to them about what we're doing. Talk about the party. The reason why I say it is, if you talk about it, often you won't turn them. But then all of a sudden, they'll see something on Facebook, they'll see a radio show, they'll hear something, and then they get it. They go, that's what Pat was talking about. He was talking about that, right? Wow, that's real. If we know we'll get many, many touches, we'll turn the country. The Libertarian Party is, right now, the best and last hope of turning this nation away from an oligarchy. We are right now the best and last hope for this nation. And that sounds hyperbolic, but unfortunately, it's true. We need your help. This can't be me. It must be us. It must be us. LarrySharpe.com. I hope I'll hear from you soon.
Excellent. Larry, again, thanks for your ongoing moral, philosophical, your leadership, and your contributions of all of that to the libertarian movement here across the country. And of course, I never got a chance that night to properly thank you for the amazing job you did at the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island's annual convention. You know you've got a home here in Rhode Island. It's an open door to you anytime. You know, folks, if there's a message to be taken from Larry's analysis tonight, it's all about communication, isn't it? It's all about how we communicate with each other, how we exchange ideas. The notion that continued questioning, both of authority, the status quo, is a critical component for us to progress as a society. It's a question really of everything we do at every level. There's no shame in that. There's only progress to be made for all of us. And it's high time we do it. Larry, our show's mantra, our hashtag is take it personally. Larry Sharpe, candidate, Libertarian candidate, I'm damn proud to say, for the governorship of the great state of New York, someone who clearly